And welcome back to the What the Falk Sunderland review show for an unusual Sunday morning slot after a supremely frustrating weekend on Wearside. It was a dream first half, followed by an absolute nightmare second half, to be honest. That saw the lads drop 2 points as we surrendered a 2-goal lead to draw 2-2 at home with Coventry. And we'll be going through the entire game, even though I don't really want to because I'm not feeling very well and I feel a bit ropey. But thankfully, we'll have two people who will hopefully hold the podcast up, although I don't hold much hope. First and foremost, Dave Lawrence, the first beacon of hope, which is the worrying thing, really, isn't it? How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, considering I'm an old, miserable landlord, it's probably not the best place to come for a beacon of light. But yeah, how many cliches can we get into the game of two halves, Jekyll and Hyde performance, all the usual stuff? I think frustration is going to be the topic of the day, unfortunately, isn't it? But there's still positives there. You've got to remember, not so long ago in history, there was no signs of hope whatsoever, and we were playing dodgeball. So, we're still top of the league. We're still unbeaten in however many. And I still think we've got a chance of 100 goals and 100 points. So happy Sunday.
I mean, to be fair, if Sheffield United win by the time this comes out, we're second in the league, just to clarify for everyone. But, hopefully Sheffield do us a favour. Come on, Wednesday. Yeah, I think in some ways, I'm not going to lie, I'm fuming about it. But, woke up this morning and we discussed, in the house, how, maybe it's just a case of how far we've come. I felt the second half was a bit dodgeball yesterday, to be honest. It's don't hurt us. And that annoyed me a little bit, but it's not Dodds' team, it's Regis Lebris's team, and we'll get into it. But there's a topic of conversation around a few things that Lebris did yesterday, which is maybe the first time we can find criticism since he's been here. But before we go into it, Pete, I imagine similarly frustrated, mate. But I'll ask anyway, how are you feeling?
Yeah, better now than I was yesterday. Immediately after it, I was bitterly disappointed to be 2-0 up and cruising at half-time. I was thinking 4, let's get this done, just get it dispatched. Or haven't we done well? Unfortunately, I think the lads on the pitch were thinking the same way. And usually this season when we've had these games of two halves, so just make sure I do get the cliche quota filled as well, it's been the first half that they've not really performed in. And when they haven't performed in a second half, as we saw in Plymouth, get punished. Look, it should have been 3 points. They've come away with 1. Still in and around that top of the league area. Still on track for 100 points and 100 goals. But some worrying signs there, particularly around the standards. The standards that Sunderland have set themselves this season. And yeah, some players weren't up to it. And we really missed Job.
Massively. Didn't miss him that much yesterday, physically, because he was right behind us in the box and he was going mad when Dennis Serkin scored, which I think a lot of people have seen, which is and he was in the away end at Preston. But yeah, look, we'll get further into it. I think there's probably more to speak to than just the Coventry game. Obviously, we didn't review the Preston game because we don't really do midweek, so I've been treating you with a couple of extra previews, so don't say I don't care about you. But Pete, I'll stick with you on this one. Look, we'll start with the good. There was good in it. At half time, I'm flying. I'm thinking, oh God, we're actually going up here. We're scoring goals like that. But another goal for Wilson, and arguably one of the best goals ever scored at the Stadium Light by Dennis Serkin. First half was great, wasn't it?
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Can we just talk about the first half?
Yes.
Yeah. Just end it.
It was good. It is good.
It was good, and now it's over. Wilson Isidore is exactly what was missing from Sunderland. We keep pointing out how much of the current squad was here last year, and last year they finished. What was it by the end of it? I was carrying that little 16th.
16th.
So
I cared that little last year that I started letting the other lads do the podcast.
So there's a lot of the nucleus of that team finished 16th, which would be which was a colossal disappointment last year. Would be, let's not even think about it this year. So the introduction of Wilson Isidore into there and his ability to score the type of goals he does score. And it seems like every week I'm on talking about how he only needs a half a chance, a sniff of a chance, and he does something wonderful with it. I think he also brings a confidence to the team, not just for himself, but they know they only have to put it in an area for him and get into support. I mean, it makes it sound really simple, but he does it really well. And when he's doing it right, wonderful. I mean, the idea that he finishes that one it's coming over his left shoulder this time, isn't it? As opposed to coming over his right shoulder. To do that, it's absolutely incredible technique. It's a wonderful goal. I thought it all looked wonderful as it was going along. Dennis Sirkin, my word, what a footballer. When he is at the standard that he knows he can play at, that we know he can play at, really genuinely one of the best in that position in the country. And I'd put anybody in the Premier League up to that. I think if he was to stay fit, he would be knocking on international teams' doors. We've had this conversation in the group chat about which international team. I know some of the lads I know who go to the Ireland matches a lot. They're pulling their hair out trying to get him capped for the Republic right now because he was born in Dublin. I haven't spoken to me Latvian mates in a while. Need to see what the chat is theirs. Is Dennis Sirkin top of Latvia's radar? Look, it was class. It was class in the first half. It then absolutely falls apart, and it doesn't fall apart because of anything like, they didn't do anything amazing to put us under the cosh. Just came out and sat back in the second half, sat on a 2-0 lead, and ultimately were punished. And feel a bit sorry for the lad in goal. His record was going so well, but I don't think he did anything particularly terrible to warrant those 2 goals. We have been incredibly big on praising Luke O'Nien with good right this season, but I don't think he was brilliant yesterday. I don't think Chris Mepham, who, let's face it, made it into our best international 11 for the side I was. I don't think he had a great game yesterday either. But they've still got a point. So I'm not going to chuck the bairn out with the bathwater on this one and say, oh, it's all over, it's all going to be terrible. But there were some mistakes there. Obviously, I think we will come on to it. I don't think the substitutions were handled correctly.
No.
But we've had complaints about that for the last few weeks. I thought Chris Rigg tired. Probably should have come off earlier than he did. That's understandable. He's playing so much football. Who else? Who else am I gonna? I thought Connolly was disappointing when he came on.
He was really disappointing, and it's such a shame because I'm not going to judge him yet, but he was poor at Preston, really poor, worryingly poor for me. And I quite liked his sporadic substitute appearances against Hull, and then against Luton, I thought he held the ball well and stuff like that. And the last 2 games I've seen of him, I've just gone, I'd rather that was my ender, to be completely honest. And
yeah, exactly.
You touched on Wilson. No, it's all right. You touched on Wilson before. I said during the week about putting him on the wing to give Mundle a bit of a rest. Looks like Mundle's going to get an extended rest anyway. And then we seen him on the wing at Preston, and it didn't really work, at all. It actually took far too much away from the team, and I don't want to see it. We might as well get on to it a bit because there's only so much you can talk about how brilliant the goals were and how good the first half was, but a game of football is 90 minutes. Putting Wilson on the wing simply doesn't really work, in my opinion. It takes far too much away because I think the way that we play Connolly up front by himself doesn't work. Wilson's more of a, dare I say it, a Ross Stewart, runs the channels, holds the ball. We had a debate in the group chat privately when he signed, oh God, he's going to be another winger, isn't he? He's not. He's definitely a centre forward through the middle, 100%. And I think when it comes to Wilson, moving him onto the wing kills us a little bit. Because I don't think he offers enough on the wing, and I don't think we get enough from Connolly up front. There's the argument you could play my ender, but who we're going to play in the wing with Mundle? I mean, it looked like Mundle's hamstring snapped yesterday. Let's be honest. It looked like it just went completely. So I can't see him being back for the Millwall game.
Absolutely, I can't see him being back for Millwall. No. I mean, I'm hoping the fact that he walked off the field and wasn't taken off on a stretcher suggests that perhaps we just don't know, do we?
Let's hope he's not dead. Let's hope he's not dead.
Well, there is that, and
like Leo Yelder.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's Connor, what's he called? Your lad from Cork, man. Was it Preston? Alan Brown. There you go. Got there in the end. See, I'm no good when I do these in the morning. My brain doesn't function. So I was reading somewhere he left on crutches, which that fills you with a lot of worry. Look, Wilson has to play up front. He's a centre forward. That's what he does. That's what he's there to do. How we are going to fill the gaps. But there's a question for you. Let's do a bit of production online on the pod. How do you fill those gaps? So if say you've got 5 players missing now from yesterday's game. So that's Hume, that's Roberts with suspensions. Yeah. That's Mundle out injured. That's who else am I missing here now?
Job suspended still.
Job still suspended. I forgot about that. And we've got one more. There's 5.
Hume, Roberts, Mundle, Job, Brown.
Right. So what do you do with that?
I mean, Dave, I'll fling this to you a bit as well. Like, there is some selection worries there, and I know we're here to kind of review the game, but like this is one of the things that came out of the game, and one of the reasons I found it so damaging that we only drew is that you're going into a really tough run of fixtures, in my opinion. Like, what is it? Millwall away, West Brom at home, and then you're followed by Sheffield United away, I think, which are 3 games where you cannot really bank on 3 points anyway. Not to say we can't get 9 points from it, far from it. Of course we can. We're a really good team, and we showed most of the games this season and first half yesterday how good we are. So I'm not saying we can't. But like, you get 3 points out of yesterday's game, you kind of go, right, second half was crap, but we've defended it, it's fine. And then you go, but oh God, look at the injuries. At least we got the 3 points. The fact we didn't. And now you've got, from yesterday's team, you might have Pato coming back, Dave. I imagine you get Pato back, but you've got a hole at right back. O'Nien and Mepham could continue centre half, but I have a feeling that might need to change because of the right back situation. Sirkin can continue at left back, but then you midfield. So you start in midfield yesterday. Rigg, Neil, Brown, Roberts, Mundle. You've got 3 out of that already. Yeah, we get Joe back after that one game, but you're basically missing almost your entire midfield, your first choice midfield outside of Chris Rigg. How do we remedy that? I mean, you discussed a few weeks ago, Dave, about not having enough depth at right back, probably. We've waited for this Hume suspension. He's picked it up. It's combined with a load of other suspensions. Like, we've talked about squad depth and how we felt we might have enough, might not have enough in some positions. Do we have enough to cover that amount?
Probably not. There's a few connotations.
The noise you made there. Probably not.
There's probably a few connotations for it. The problem that Labrie, I think, will have, and this is probably his first test. I'm not saying he's under pressure or anything like that. Although being in the Sunderland hot seat, you're probably under pressure all the time. I think we find out if he's got a plan B, because I think this could probably end up with a change of formation. Because you would have a fairly solid back 3 if you brought Ballard in and then you went Ballard, Mepham and O'Nien as your back 3. And then you're like trying to fill in the midfield. The problem that he's got is his element of man management is going to come massively into question, because if you look at it, young lad on the bench last night who still hasn't made his debut, Alexis. So that to me makes it sound as though there's a lack of confidence in him. We've already, from the amount of suspensions, even if it's going on at the bench, I'd imagine you're looking at the likes of Ashish to come on the bench. Now, he can't have any confidence whatsoever because Labrie hasn't even considered him from an outsider looking in. All of a sudden, there's probably a bit of an argument from starting the game, let alone anything else. So he's got so much to manage and so much man management to do. He's either going to look like a genius or he's going to look particularly foolish in the next couple of weeks. I know suspensions and injuries happen, but we did say about this like in pre-season. It's going to be massive, and those 5 players that you talk about who are out of the next game, 4 of them arguably are our starting 11. So basically a third of our team are out. That can't be ideal preparation for any manager, surely.
On the flip side to that, and I mean, I think I heard the thing about Brown going off on crutches yesterday, and I'd be absolutely shocked if Mundle comes back, Dave. But is it maybe a benefit that we do have that international break because you can get a bit more training? You maybe even get, I don't know, could we get Paveda back at that point? Like, I forgot he existed.
Can't wait for Paveda. I wasn't happy when we signed him, let alone signed him on a 4-year deal. So he's got some experience. I'm not sure it's what we need, but yeah, there's listen, we need someone from somewhere. That's for absolute certain. So yes, hopefully a bit of a break and a bit of time on the training ground helps, but I genuinely think he's got a lot of graft to do. And you're exactly right with what you said earlier on. The fact that we've, 4 draws in a row now, is it?
3.
Sorry, my dad's just told us it's 3 in the background. So,
is he available for a podcast at any point?
Yeah, he probably would be, to be fair. So, yeah, just them 3 points when realistically could it have been 5, frustrating. Exactly as I started at the beginning, it's frustrating. But hopefully, Lebris's magic hasn't run out, and hopefully he pulls something out of the old French hat, so to speak.
The beret.
It's a raspberry beret.
The French hat.
If that's not the title of this week's episode, I'll be very surprised.
The beret. I feel like, look, I'm going to come to you, Pete, because you're a bit more positive than maybe I always feel like Jenga. Like I'm pulling out all of like the little wooden bits and I'm doing really well. And then when I'm totally safe, I go, oh my God, it's going to fall like a deck of cards, isn't it? Like I am quite an optimistic person, but I sometimes feel like Sunderland is the destination of choice with Sunderland. Me choosing us as a team is always going to end in sadness, which is probably a bit of a negative outlook sometimes, but we're still top at the time of speaking. Look, we might drop to second after this afternoon. Fair enough. But someone raised a point yesterday when I asked about questions, and they said, look, this 3 games performance-wise haven't been great. I think QPR was, you're happy you've got a point, you've dug in, you've got a clean sheet. Fair enough. Preston was poor. Like, it was poor, but I thought, that's fine. We've got a home game to fix it. And then we'll come up with this home game, we'll drop a 2-goal lead. But if this is our blip, are we worrying and panicking about too much, or is it natural to be a bit concerned by the past 3 games? Because there is 2 ways of thinking with that, and I don't think any way is wrong.
I think we're absolutely overreacting to a blip. I think it's understandable, considering where Sunderland have been in the last 10 years and where Sunderland have been in the last 12 months. It's understandable to react as most fans, I think, have to this blip. And I think that's what we need to keep referring to it as, because I've got full faith that Lebris can turn this around. I think I think from everything that doesn't go to the plan, he does seem to learn something. That's what we've noticed so far. Whether it's as simple as he came in, he took one look at Aushish and he took one look at Bart and went, not those lads. Or he's done every single thing he's done with a meticulousness that I've got to respect. So I hope he can turn this around. It would be very Sunderland for them to have picked up 3 points from the last 3 games and get 9 from the next 3. But the fact that they've still picked up points when they've played not horribly. I mean, look, yesterday in the second half against Coventry, not good at all, not acceptable, not up to the standard. But they didn't get. It's not like Coventry last season at home. where Coventry could have scored whenever they wanted to. It's sad that it's them again that's done it, but I'm not happy that Sunderland have dropped those points, particularly from a 2-0 lead, but I do have a confidence that they can turn it around. So is it time to panic just yet? And are we on the Lebris out and they don't know what they're doing and it's actually Dodsey that's picking the team because I've got this 10-second video clip where he's looking at an iPad and he says something to Lebris that I'm not even sure Reggie's actually understands. No, I don't think that's what's happening. I think it is a blip. I've got faith that Lebris will learn from it and we'll see something else. Ultimately, what is our big complaint of Regis Lebris? He doesn't make substitutions soon enough. I think that's the one complaint I think everybody would have. But we've also gone through the squad and shown we're a wee bit threadbare in some places. So probably what he's thinking is I've not got the players to play it to the standard that I want to fill in these positions. So it then passes that ball back over the net to Mr. Speakman for January.
I was waiting for it. I was going to jump in myself and go, I tell you what, let's just start the murmurs that it's Speakman's fault and see what everyone reacts.
It's all Speakman's fault. No, that was it was a long-winded way of saying I'm not panicking just yet, and I've got confidence that I don't know. I couldn't tell you what the team will be to play Millwall, but go on. I'm going to go on record now and say Sunderland win 2-0.
I'm going to... When it comes to, I kind of agree. I said before, sometimes I'll not veer on the negative or look for the negative. I think being a Sunderland fan over the past 35, 38 years, it tends to go to shit even when it's going quite well. Like 2 7th place finishes and then record low points total, X, Y, and Z. Promotion followed by breaking our own records, low points, low total. You know what I mean? But I kind of agree with Pete. I think in a way, look, I'm cheesed off about yesterday, but I was actually all right after keep your arm pressed, and I thought the performances were poor, but I was like, top point away from home, clean sheet, take it. If this is our bad point, fair enough. I think yesterday, 45 minutes, I could have, tore my own hair out. I couldn't have tore Dave's out or Ross's, but I would have tried. I think.
And you wouldn't have been able to tear mine out because it's got more volume than a pensioner's television.
Wow. By the way, you said about it being Coventry, and you said, why is it always them? It's ironic that this is a delayed podcast after playing Coventry, isn't it? Not by 15 minutes, by almost 24 hours. But there you go. Yeah, I had to get it in. I kept telling Coventry fans at the station yesterday that the train was late by 15 minutes. I don't think they got the joke. Because they kept going, is it? And I was like, it doesn't matter. But I do think, I probably agree with you on that, Pete. I think essentially we're going to be second going into the international break at the very least. We haven't lost.
You say that Sheffield United would have to batter Wednesday. From what I'm seeing, I think it's 4 goals they have to score, is it not?
Yeah, 4. I think we're 3 ahead. So
yeah. Our goal difference is 14. Sheffield United ahead of their game against Wednesday's goal difference is 11. So even with my maths, they need to score 4 goals and win.
In a derby. Tough. I think probably my main concern would be the fixtures that are coming up and the players we've now got out and the fact that we haven't been performing well. And I think that's a totally natural thing if anyone agrees with me on that. I think on the flip side of that, this side has shown that it can beat the better teams in this league and compete with them. And at some point, some of those players will come back. Pataway's coming back. Job's back after one of those games. Robertson, Hume back after one of those games. Millwall away it's a difficult one. Let's not beat around the bush, but the players will start coming back after that one game. And look, if we thought we were going to get through the season and get automatic promotion or playoffs without any sort of troubles or worries or blips, poor runs of form, couple of draws, games without wins, then fair enough. It is the first period this season where we probably need to look at the games we've got coming up, be a bit concerned naturally, but also have a bit of confidence that we can get through it. And then what happens at the end of that, I would say Sheffield United game, then that's the first test of saying, right, how have we got through these difficult periods? Because if we can get through these, let's think positively. If we can get through Millwall, West Brom and Sheffield United and still be around the top 3, top 4, massive positive.
Well, they've
Massive
played
positive.
everybody then. They've played everybody who's going to be at any type of risk. Yeah, that Sheffield United game does look like a bit of a watershed now.
It's a big game in terms of automatic promotion, but I think also, not that I want to dampen expectations, because I think we're good enough for automatic promotion. I think we've shown that. But before the season, I said if we finish top 8, I'd probably be all right with it based on last season. So they've raised expectations. They've shown that they're better than what we thought they were beforehand. And it's that battle of, do I go back to, oh, well, I only expected us top 8, or no, oh, God damn it, we are an automatic promotion team. It's a difficult one, to be honest. And it's difficult to summarise before the games. But I think the next 2 games are quite big. Dave, sorry, I was reading the question from Chris. Dave, I want to ask this question to you because you're the dour negative one. I'm really not well.
So seamless, the production of this today. Brilliant.
The irony of the irony of this question is, I don't know if he means it about me in the future or if he meant last night, but Dave, I'll come to you because if you're the alleged negative guy. Chris has asked, and he's not talking about me and this podcast and my hosting abilities, are the wheels falling off?
No, I don't think so. I think the one thing we normally pride ourselves on is balance, and Peter's exactly right. And I hope nobody listening has kind of come to the conclusion that anyone thinks we are being overreactive in terms of people should be getting the sack and people should be getting shipped out, because that's definitely not the case whatsoever.
I should be getting the sack.
Well, yeah, that's true. You can't get sacked from something you don't get paid for.
You're not getting paid?
No.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's the I get paid from, what was it again? I get paid from shite interactions on Twitter. I don't know how. If anyone can find the pot of money that I can't seem to locate, let me know, and then I can actually pay for hosting the podcast rather than being in debt for hosting this stupid podcast, which you should unsubscribe from now or like immediately.
But I think we've got to realign what we thought was going to happen at the beginning of the season. And I don't think anyone expected us to be challenging for a title, if we're brutally honest with each other. And here we are. And if we come through the next, everything has to be broken up into, everything has to be broken up into little sections. Let's see where we're at in the next 5 games. Let's see what's happening. Let's, keep the faith, for want of a better phrase. But yeah, there's nothing there that makes me think that we've imploded. I don't think the wheels have fallen off at all. And I'm all on the Reggie LeBrie bus very much.
But for the record, we had one of the questions was from a mag, and it said, all it said was the wheels on the bus. And it was like, I was tempted to reply being like, go round and round. Like, if you're indicating the wheels have fallen off, that's the wrong song, mate. I'll give this next question to you, Pete, because you're the older statesman of this podcast now, since you joined us. The only reason you were quote unquote employed. Question from Ross: Why are Coventry?
Give me the question.
Why are Coventry such bastard twats?
Oh. Somebody has to be, don't they?
Yeah.
No, I have to be really careful because my the one of the main management of one of my biggest clients is a massive Coventry fan, and he might listen to this sometimes. So I'm going to be careful here. There's always got to be a baddie. Look, obviously, we are the goodies. That's what it is. I mean, let's not get away from the fact of anything. Sunderland clearly the goodies. Anybody that supports them, nice people, fine people, great people. There are some teams, like Newcastle, like Coventry, where they are the baddies, and they have to be. And that it's just how narrative structure works, that they have been designed at some point in the grand narrative of football, that Coventry City will always be the bastard in a Sunderland story. And yeah, they've continued with that. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's like, I honestly, I couldn't, this is bad because I'm, a very middle-aged man, but I haven't lived in the UK in a long time. I couldn't point to Coventry, put a pin in a map on Coventry and find it in the UK. I'll try that sentence one more time, shall I?
Birmingham?
I couldn't put a pin in a map of the UK and find Coventry. I know it's somewhere near Birmingham. But yeah, it's funny how one team just ends up with such an influence throughout, like a generational influence. It's, when was the Jimmy Hill thing? 1970,
77 was it, I think.
77. There you go. It's even before my time. So it's, yeah, somebody's always got to be the baddies, and they're one of ours.
Dave, I'll throw this question to you because there was tons and tons of people commenting on it. And then we're going to end on talking about how great the goals were because I want to end on a positive. And they were meant, I didn't even celebrate them. I just did this weird kind of like gangster hand movement when we scored because it was so good. Obviously, this means nothing because it's an audio medium. You don't know what I've just done. It was kind of like a Ali G sort of woo. I don't know what that is. Solid Crew or something like
Are you
that. I'm not. I'm unwell, mate. Not well, tired, and I need more coffee. Dave, loads of questions about Roberts, and I'll be honest, I love Patrick Roberts. Tons of questions yesterday. One of them even asking if we should throw him off the Weymouth Bridge, which I think is incredibly harsh because he's class. But I understand the frustration with him. He started the season getting 3 assists and a goal, and he had a lot of like assists of assists. He's kind of reverting back a little bit to the Patrick Roberts that just pings 30-yard shots over the bar, doesn't really create anything, but looks really flashy. What is this Patrick Roberts conundrum? Because we played without him on Wednesday, Dave, and we weren't as good. He came on, he looked sharp, we played better. We play better with Roberts in the team, but he simply doesn't add enough end product, unfortunately, and he's done that. He came back into it at the start of the season, but he's dropped off again in terms of that particular product.
Could this be a case just for a different way of thinking where everyone thinks to themselves, Roberts, he's doing this wrong, he's doing that wrong? Is it a case of other teams are doing their homework, realising a weakness within his game and kind of playing to their strengths to isolate him a little bit? I think there's some argument to that. I definitely think the amount of analysts and researchers and stuff that people have got nowadays, they will have noticed in the first segment of the season how effective he was. And I definitely think there's an element of that. Listen, I think my only comment on it is form is temporary, class is permanent. And I think that's definitely what you get with Patrick Roberts.
I feel like that with Roberts. I personally think we're a better team with him. I wish he had a bit more end product. And I wish I didn't worry when he opened his left boot, thinking that was going to go 40 yards over the bar. But if he starts putting him in the top corner, unfortunately, Barcelona are signing him. He's that level of talent with the ball at his feet. So it is what it is. But I understand the frustration at the same time. But Pete, where do you stand on the Roberts thing? Because I think it's quite clear that this particular podcast, probably as a whole, loves him, but understands his drawbacks. But there's a lot of questions yesterday from listeners, all 10 of them, asking about Roberts and sort of lack of end product and showing evident frustration.
He didn't have a good year last year, and I think off the back of that, he's come out a bit more fired up this season. And I think they would, I don't know how much they listen to the criticisms when they do get criticisms from the likes of us, but they will listen to the criticisms that come from internally and within the club, from the coaching staff. And everybody could have seen that he wasn't up to the Patrick Roberts that we'd seen previously last season. He came back brilliantly this year. I think he could genuinely do with somebody pushing him all the way for his place. I don't know how we get to that, but I just think that because the class is there, the quality is there, the skill is there, the ability is there. It must come down to a mental thing that if he's not constantly fighting as the underdog to show I should be there, I should be doing this, or trying to make sure that he, as the senior pro that he is, that he's keeping a younger player out or somebody else out. I think he would benefit from that. At the moment, though, as we saw, like when he didn't play Sunderland with Pura, he's come back in and his foot was a little bit off the gas yesterday from where it should be. And but who comes in? Who comes in to replace at that position now? Do you play Tommy Watson there?
For me, Watson's very young, but I think if you're playing him in his natural position on the left.
There you go. That would be my other thing. So who comes in on the right?
Well, you know what would fix it? And I know Dave's not a big fan of him from the 2 games we've seen of him, but if Paveda could just be fit, which was the worry we were told about him, he's a exact same replacement as Roberts. He plays in a really similar way. I don't think he's quite as good, but there's an option, someone to push him, but he's just not fit.
So who do you play there if there's nobody? If there's nobody there at the moment, that's the one spot that I'm struggling to fill.
Yeah, and you've also got the issues with right back.
Well, I mean, and then you're going to be changing the next game. You're going to be changing that whole right side.
Mm-hmm.
Probably O'Neill was in
Abdul Bar.
The resurrection man, the Renaissance man. They said it couldn't be done. They said it shouldn't be done. Here he is, Abdullah Bar's hat trick at the new Den.
It shouldn't have been done.
Yeah, exactly. Probably. Do you know what? I don't think. You're going to make fairly. Sorry, I've got my phone's making noises here. It shouldn't be. So professional. I can't see who else comes in there right now off the top of my head. So I do think Dave's right in what he says, that you could well see Al-Shish, you could well see Bar coming into the starting lineup. But yeah, Patrick Roberts, I think it would be an eye to keep an eye open for the January window to try and sign somebody who can also play on that right hand side, who isn't as injured perpetually as Ian Poveda. But they've given Poveda a 4-year contract. Do they have the money to play around with those type of deals now?
Well, it must have been quite a low amount, because I think we were told he wasn't going to be fit and he wasn't. But yeah, let's end on a positive. Both the goals were class, really good, brilliant. Another point closer to 100 points and 100 goals. Dave and Pete, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. And if someone could put the Carlos Edwards commentary on the Dennis Serkins shot, I'd really appreciate it.
What a whack that was. Looked like a traction engine.
He's hit it from the River Weir.